The moon hung bright and full in the night sky as Hana's scout ship hurtled through Earth's atmosphere. Warning lights flashed across her control panel. The ship shuddered violently. No, no, no. Hana gripped the steering controls, her knuckles white as she fought to stabilize the failing vessel. Something had gone terribly wrong during her routine scan of this solar system. 1 minute she'd been recording data about the third planet's unusual biodiversity, and the next moment her propulsion system had failed completely. The ship's computer spoke in its calm voice. Warning, critical system failure, crash landing. Imminent. Hana wiped sweat from her forehead and punched in emergency landing sequences. Earth wasn't supposed to be her destination, just another primitive planet to study from a distance. Her people had strict rules about planets like this one. No contact, no interference, just observe and move on. So much for those rules now. Trees rushed up to meet her view screen as the ship plummeted toward a dense forest. Hana braced herself, closing her eyes as the vessel crashed through branches and slammed into the ground. The impact threw her forward against her restraints. Pain shot through her shoulder. Metal groaned and sparked around her. When the ship finally settled, silence fell. Hana opened her eyes to the crooked view of her damaged cockpit. Moonlight filtered through the cracked view screen, illuminating the mess of her command center. Computer damage report, she whispered, tasting blood from where she'd bitten her lip. Main propulsion, offline. Navigation, offline. Communication, array, offline. The computer's voice sounded distorted now, breaking up between words. Emergency beacon, functional. Life support, functional but limited to 48 Earth hours. Hana unclipped her restraints with shaking hands. The ship had come to rest at an odd angle, making it difficult to stand properly. She limped to the emergency kit and pulled out a medical scanner, running it over her body. Just bruises and a sprained wrist. She'd been lucky. Looking out the cracked view screen, she could see trees all around. Where exactly had she crashed? The computer had identified this as a remote region in the northern part of a landmass the locals called Michigan. Far from dense population centers, thankfully, but she'd need to be careful. Humans weren't ready for first contact. They still fought wars over resources and differences in appearance. They weren't united. They hadn't even visited their own moon in decades. Hana pressed a button on the wall panel. The ship's exterior camouflage system hummed to life, projecting an image of the surrounding forest over the crashed vessel. From more than a few steps away, no human would spot anything unusual, just more trees and undergrowth. She checked the emergency beacon. It was working, sending a distress signal to any passing ships from her homeworld. But the nearest patrol was at least 3 months away. She'd need to survive until then, or find a way to repair her ship. Hana gathered essential supplies into a small pack, a universal translator, water purifier, emergency rations, and a small defensive weapon that could stun if needed. She changed from her uniform into the simplest clothing she had, dark pants and a plain gray shirt that might pass as Earth fashion. As she prepared to venture outside, Hana caught her reflection in a broken screen. Her features weren't so different from humans. 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth. But her slightly bluish skin tone and the small ridges along her temples would immediately mark her as not from this world. She rummaged through her supplies and found a cap to hide the ridges and a special cream that would temporarily mask her skin tone. The ship's door creaked as it opened halfway before jamming. Hana squeezed through the gap and took her first breath of Earth air, rich with oxygen and the scent of pine trees. Night sounds surrounded her, insects chirping, leaves rustling, some animal calling in the distance. She activated a small scanner from her belt. No human life signs within 3 kilometers. Good. She had time to think. Hana circled her ship, assessing the damage in the moonlight. The hull had cracked in several places. The engine compartment was a mess of twisted metal. This was far worse than she'd feared. Even with the right tools and parts, repairs would take weeks, maybe months. A twig snapped somewhere in the darkness. Hana froze, holding her breath. Her scanner hadn't detected humans, but Earth had many large predators. She slowly reached for her stun weapon. A deer stepped into the small clearing, its eyes reflecting the moonlight. It stared at Hana for a long moment before bolting away through the trees. Hana exhaled shakily. She needed shelter for the night. The damaged ship wasn't safe with its unstable power core. She'd have to make camp nearby and return at first light to begin assessing what repairs were even possible. As she gathered branches to build a simple shelter, a terrible thought struck her. What if she couldn't fix the ship? What if the patrol never received her beacon? Would she spend the rest of her life hiding on this planet, watching these humans from afar, never able to return home? Hana looked up at the stars. So different from the view from her homeworld. Somewhere up there beyond the twinkling lights, her family would soon wonder why she hadn't reported in. "I'll find a way," she whispered to herself as she worked. "Somehow, I'll find a way home." The night grew colder. Hana finished her shelter just as clouds began to cover the moon. In the distance, thunder rumbled. Perfect. Just what she needed. Rain on her first night stranded on this alien world. Little did she know that a few kilometers away, a human was about to change her fate forever. June wiped grease from his hands onto an old rag as he finished fixing Mrs. Kim's lawnmower. The small workshop behind his house was cluttered with broken machines waiting for his touch. Fans whirred overhead, pushing around the hot summer air without really cooling anything. He glanced at the clock just after 5 p.m. Still time for his evening hike before darkness fell. These daily walks through the woods had become his escape, his way of clearing his head after long days of repairs and caring for his father. "Dad, I'm heading out for my walk," he called as he passed through the kitchen. His father looked up from his crossword puzzle, eyes cloudy with cataracts but still sharp. "Take the flashlight, storm's coming later." June grabbed his backpack, tucking in water, trail mix, and the flashlight his father suggested. The weight felt comfortable against his shoulders. A reminder of the engineering career he'd left behind in the city, when his father's health had declined. The forest trail started just behind their property, winding through old growth trees that had stood for generations. June breathed deeply, letting pine scent fill his lungs. This was his favorite time of day, when the forest came alive with evening activity. About 40 minutes into his hike, something caught his attention. A strange scent, like hot metal and ozone, drifted through the usual forest smells. He paused, sniffing the air. Definitely not normal. Thunder rumbled in the distance as June left the trail, following the strange smell. The sky was darkening faster than usual with storm clouds gathering overhead. He should probably turn back, but curiosity pulled him forward. That's when he noticed the broken trees. Several large pines had splintered branches, creating a rough path of destruction. It looked like something big had crashed through here. "Hello?" he called out. "Anybody need help?" No answer came, but June could swear he heard movement ahead. He pushed through some undergrowth and stepped into a small clearing. At first nothing seemed unusual, just trees, ferns, and forest floor. But that smell was stronger here. A flash of movement caught his eye. Someone, ducked behind a large tree trunk. "Hey, I see you there," June said, keeping his voice gentle. "Are you hurt? I'm not going to harm you." Slowly, a figure emerged from behind the tree. A woman with short, dark hair stepped forward cautiously. She wore simple clothes, dark pants and a gray shirt, but something about her seemed off. Her movements were too precise, her posture too perfect. "I am not injured," she said in a strangely formal tone. "Please leave this area." June frowned. "Are you sure? There's a storm coming. Do you need shelter?" He gestured at the path of broken trees. "Was there some kind of accident?" The woman's eyes narrowed. "No accident. Nothing to see. Go away now." A raindrop hit June's cheek, then another. The storm was arriving faster than expected. Lightning flashed, briefly illuminating the clearing, and in that split second, June saw it. A flicker in the air behind the woman, like a faulty television screen showing static. For just a moment he thought he glimpsed something metallic where there should have been only trees. What was that? He asked, stepping forward. The woman moved to block him. Nothing. You saw nothing. Go home. But another flash of lightning revealed it again, a strange rippling in the air. And this time June was certain there was something large behind an almost invisible screen or shield. Something not from around here. I'm June, he said, deciding to try a different approach. I fix things, machines, engines, electronics, it's what I do. He pointed toward the flickering distortion. And whatever you're hiding there, I'm guessing it's broken. The woman's expression changed slightly, a flicker of surprise crossing her face. You cannot help, your technology is too primitive. June couldn't help but laugh. Primitive? I have 3 engineering degrees and worked for the National Aerospace Research Center before moving back here. Whatever you've got, I bet I can at least understand it. A sudden downpour began, rain falling, in sheets. Lightning cracked again, closer this time, and with a fizzling sound the camouflage screen behind the woman failed completely. June's mouth fell open. There, nestled among broken trees, was what could only be described as a spacecraft. Not large, maybe the size of a small bus, but definitely not made by human hands. Its sleek surface had strange markings, and despite obvious damage to one side, it was the most beautiful machine June had ever seen. Oh my God, he whispered. The woman, clearly not from Earth, looked panicked now. She reached for something at her belt. Wait. June held up his hands. I'm not a threat. I won't tell anyone. But you can't stay out here in this storm. As if to emphasize his point, lightning struck a nearby tree with a deafening crack. The tree began to topple, directly toward the woman. June didn't think. He lunged forward, tackling her out of the way as the massive trunk crashed down, missing them by inches but landing on part of the already damaged spacecraft. A shower of sparks erupted from the ship. They lay in the mud, rain pouring down on them. The woman stared at him with wide eyes, clearly shocked by his actions. You saved me, she said. Anyone would have done the same. June helped her to her feet. I'm guessing that tree didn't help your ship's condition. She turned to look at the additional damage, shoulders slumping slightly. No, it did not. Another lightning strike illuminated the area, and June noticed something else. A slight bluish tint to her skin that hadn't been visible before. The rain was washing away some kind of concealing makeup. Look, June said over the storm. My house isn't far. You can't stay here, and I'm guessing your ship isn't habitable anymore. He nodded toward the sparking vessel. My dad's a sound sleeper. You can dry off, we can talk, and maybe, just maybe, I can help you figure out how to fix that thing. The woman, alien, studied him for a long moment, rain streaming down her face. For the first time, June noticed strange ridges partially visible along her temples. I am Hana, she finally said, and I should not trust you, but I have limited options. She gestured to her ship. Without repairs, I cannot leave this planet. June tried to hide his excitement. A real alien, a real spaceship. All those childhood dreams of working in space hadn't been so far-fetched after all. Well, Hana, he said with a smile, lucky for you, fixing impossible things happens to be my specialty. He pointed through the trees. My workshop's this way. And don't worry, your secret's safe with me. As they trudged through the rain, June wondered what he was getting himself into, helping an alien repair her ship. If anyone had told him this morning that's what he'd be doing tonight, he'd have thought they were crazy. But looking at the determined set of Hana's jaw as she walked beside him, June knew one thing for certain. His quiet life had just become a whole lot more interesting. 2 weeks had passed since the stormy night when June discovered Hana and her crashed ship. The spare room above his workshop had become her temporary home, filled with strange tools and salvaged parts from her vessel. His father thankfully rarely ventured up the steep stairs due to his bad knee, giving them a safe place to work. Hand me that copper wire, Hana said, not looking up from the complex circuit board in front of her. Her fingers moved with incredible precision, manipulating components too small for June to handle without tweezers. June passed her the spool of wire he'd stripped from an old television. Will this really work? Connecting your quantum positioning array to parts from our junkyard? Hana's mouth quirked into what he now recognized as her version of a smile. My people believe in adaptability above all else. Besides, your technology isn't as primitive as I first thought. June laughed, remembering her initial dismissal of Earth tech. You called my laptop adorably simplistic just last week, and I stand by that assessment. She looked up finally, those unusual eyes meeting his. But the basic principles are sound. Electricity, magnetism, conductivity, they work the same across the universe. The application is just different. The summer heat made the workshop stifling despite the fans running at full speed. June wiped sweat from his brow and glanced at his watch. Almost noon. I need to check on Dad and make lunch. Want a sandwich? Hana nodded, already refocused on her work. The one with the crunchy vegetables, please, and the yellow sauce. Cucumber, sandwich with mustard coming up. As June headed to the house, he marveled at how quickly their unlikely partnership had formed. After the initial shock, and Hana's reluctant explanation about her people and their non-interference policy regarding Earth, they'd settled into a rhythm. Mornings were spent cataloging damaged components from her ship. Afternoons were for scavenging replacements from junkyards and electronics stores. Evenings were for testing their makeshift repairs. In the kitchen, June found his father dozing in his armchair, the radio playing softly beside him. He gently woke him for lunch. You and your friend still working on that special project? His father asked, adjusting his glasses. June had told him Hana was a foreign exchange student interested in engineering. Not entirely false, just not the whole truth. Yeah, it's coming along, slowly but surely. His father nodded. She's quiet, polite though. Reminds me of your mother, always thinking. That one. June swallowed hard. The comparison to his mother, gone 5 years now, wasn't one he'd expected. I hadn't thought of that. Maybe that's why we work well together. After making sure his father was comfortable with his lunch and afternoon pills, June prepared sandwiches and headed back to the workshop. He found Hana standing by the window staring at the sky. Missing home? He asked softly. She turned, that mask of composure slipping just slightly. Today is the festival of lights on my world. My family will gather without me, wondering if I'm still alive. June set down the plates. Tell me about it, about your home. Over sandwiches, Hana described a world with 3 moons and cities built into mountain ranges. She spoke of technology that sounded like magic, vehicles that hovered without noise, buildings that changed shape according to need, medical advancements that could heal almost any injury. And yet you still get homesick, June observed. Some things really are universal. What about you? Hana asked, brushing crumbs from her fingers. You mentioned degrees, important work. Why are you here fixing lawnmowers instead? June looked down. Dad got sick. Mom was gone. Nobody else to care for him. The choice wasn't hard, really. You gave up your dreams for family. She said it matter-of-factly, but there was new respect in her voice. Wouldn't you? Hana considered this. Yes, I believe I would. After lunch, they drove June's old pickup truck to a large salvage yard 2 towns over. The owner, Mr. Park, waved them through with a friendly nod. He'd grown used to their strange requests over the past weeks. Look for anything with gold connectors, Hana murmured as they walked through aisles of discarded electronics. And satellite components if possible. June spotted a pile of old GPS units and began digging through them. So if we get the positioning array working, what's next? The propulsion system. Hana was examining a broken radar display. Without it, I can't break Earth's gravity. And if we can't fix that? She paused, looking at him directly. Then I remain here. Forever. The weight of that possibility hung between them. June had been so caught up in the excitement of the project, he hadn't fully considered what failure would mean for Hana. Permanent exile from her world, her family, everything she knew. We'll fix it, he said with more confidence than he felt. Whatever it takes. That evening, they worked later than usual. Hana had managed to connect the salvaged GPS components to her positioning array, creating what she called a crude but functional hybrid system. June watched in amazement as strange symbols flowed across her portable screen. It's working! Hana's usual reserve broke as she grinned widely. The array is calibrating to Earth's position in space. Without thinking, June swept her into a hug. She stiffened for a moment, then relaxed, awkwardly patting his back. Sorry, he said, stepping back quickly. Just excited. Physical celebration is not uncommon among my people, too. Her cheeks had taken on a slightly darker blue tint. Was she blushing? The moment was interrupted by a knock on the workshop door. Hana immediately tensed, grabbing her cap to cover her temple ridges. June, his father's voice called. Everything okay? It's past dinner time. Fine, Dad. Lost track of time. I'll be right in. Later that night, after his father had gone to bed, June brought tea to the workshop. He found Hana studying Earth television, programs on an old tablet he'd given her. Your entertainment is fascinating, she said, accepting the steaming mug. So much of it involves beings from other worlds. Yet you have no confirmed contact with any. Hope, I guess. A lot of us want to believe we're not alone out here. You're not. She sipped her tea. There are 17 spacefaring civilizations in this sector of the galaxy alone. Earth is simply not quite ready, according to Confederation guidelines. June sat beside her on the worn couch. And what do you think, now that you've been here, met humans up close? Hana was quiet for a long moment. I think your potential is greater than my people realize. You personally have shown remarkable adaptability and intelligence. And kindness. She met his eyes. That counts for more than technological advancement. Something warm spread through June's chest that had nothing to do with the tea. High praise from someone who can travel between stars. Even star travelers can learn new things, June. She gestured to their cobbled-together repair station, like how to fix quantum technology with parts from a junkyard. They worked for another hour before fatigue overcame them both. As June headed to the house, Hana called after him. Tomorrow we start on the propulsion system, the most difficult part. We'll figure it out, June said confidently. Between your knowledge and my junkyard magic, your ship will fly again. He didn't add what had begun to worry him these past few days, that he wasn't sure if he wanted it to. The summer heat had given way to autumn chill by the time they were ready to attempt the final repairs. Leaves in fiery oranges and reds carpeted the forest floor around Hana's ship, which remained hidden under its now stabilized camouflage shield. 3 months of work had led to this moment. June's fingers were stained with grease and tiny cuts as he carefully connected the makeshift propulsion regulator they'd built. The heart of it was from Hana's ship, but the supporting components were an unlikely mix of Earth technology, parts from electric car batteries, modified microwave transformers, and custom-built circuit boards he'd etched by hand. Careful with that connection, Hana said, peering over his shoulder. Too much current and the whole system could overload. June nodded, focusing intently as he soldered the final wire. Done. That's the last physical connection. He sat back on his heels, stretching his stiff back. They'd been working since dawn, and now the afternoon sun filtered through the trees. Hana looked different these days. She'd stopped using the cream to hide her natural skin tone when they were alone, and her slightly blue complexion caught the sunlight in a way that made her look almost luminous. Now for the moment of truth, she said, moving to her control panel. Her fingers flew across the strange symbols, initiating the startup sequence they'd rehearsed a dozen times. The ship hummed to life, lights flickering on throughout the cabin. Displays that had been dark for months suddenly glowed with information. June held his breath as the propulsion system's status indicators cycled from red to yellow. Come on, he whispered. Come on. With a soft chime, the indicators turned. Green. The propulsion system was online. It worked. Hana's usual composure broke as she spun around, grabbing June's hands. You did it. We did it, he corrected, unable to keep the grin off his face. Your ship can fly again. Hana's joy was contagious as she examined each system readout. Navigation working at 94% capacity, life support fully functional, communication array receiving signals from my home network. She looked up, eyes shining. I can leave tomorrow at dawn. The patrol ship I've been in contact with will rendezvous with me at the edge of your solar system. Tomorrow. The word hit June like a physical blow. Of course, that had been the goal all along, to repair her ship so she could go home. But somehow, in the months of working side by side, he'd pushed that reality away. That's great, he managed to say, turning away to pack up his tools. Your family will be relieved. Hana's excitement dimmed as she watched him. Yes, they will. They spent the next few hours running diagnostics and making minor adjustments. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows through the trees, Hana initiated the final system check, a complete simulation of the launch sequence. If this goes well, we're officially done, she said. June nodded, not trusting himself to speak. He'd grown used to their daily rhythm, to Hana's presence in his workshop, to their late-night conversations about the differences and surprising similarities between their worlds. Tomorrow that would end. The simulation completed successfully, and Hana closed the control panel with a satisfied nod. Perfect. By this time tomorrow, I'll be halfway to the rendezvous point. They walked back to June's house in relative silence, the weight of their impending separation hanging between them. The workshop, which had been their headquarters for months, felt suddenly too small, too empty despite the clutter of tools and parts. I should pack my things, Hana said quietly, looking around at the small living space she'd created above the workshop. I'll help, June offered, then paused. Actually, I need to check on Dad first. I'll be back in a bit. He needed the space, needed a moment to compose himself. After making sure his father had taken his evening medication and was settled in front of his favorite TV show, June returned to the workshop. He climbed the stairs slowly, hearing Hana moving about in the room above. When he reached the top, he found her sitting at the desk, staring at his computer screen. What are you looking at? He asked. Hana startled slightly. I was nothing, just organizing my thoughts. She quickly closed whatever was on the screen. June moved closer, curiosity overcoming his melancholy. Were those my notes? For the past few months, he'd been meticulously documenting everything he learned about Hana's technology. Not the classified details she couldn't share, but his own observations, theories, and the adaptations they'd created together. He kept the files password protected, not out of distrust for Hana, but as a precaution in case anyone else ever used his computer. Hana looked guilty. I noticed them weeks ago. You left the file open once. She met his eyes directly. Why are you documenting all of this? My people's non-interference protocol. I know, June interrupted, and I'm not planning to publish papers claiming aliens exist or anything like that. He ran a hand through his hair. I just thought maybe someday I could introduce some of these concepts, not as alien technology, but as theoretical innovations. Help nudge humanity forward a little. He expected anger or disappointment. Instead, Hana studied him with an expression he couldn't quite read. Show me exactly what you've documented, she said finally. They spent the next hour going through his notes. June explained his ideas for introducing concepts like Hana's energy efficiency systems as theoretical breakthroughs in green technology, or how her materials science could revolutionize medical devices without revealing their true origin. These are all carefully chosen, he explained. Nothing that would destabilize society or give anyone dangerous technology, just helpful nudges in the right direction. Hana was quiet for a long time after he finished. Your approach is more thoughtful than I expected. More responsible. Is that a compliment? June asked, attempting a smile. It is. She closed the laptop. I should finish packing. Later, as the night deepened and stars appeared through the workshop skylight, they shared a final cup of tea. Tomorrow she would be gone, traveling among those same stars. I wish I could see your ship actually fly, June said, after all that work. It's safer if you're not there, Hana replied. A clean break is better. Clean break. The words stung more than they should have. Will you ever come back? He couldn't help asking. To Earth, I mean. Hana looked into her. So it's unlikely. My assignment will change after this incident, and Earth is still classified as a non-contact civilization. June nodded, trying to accept this reality. They'd always known this was temporary. As he stood to leave for the night, Hana suddenly spoke. June, thank you. Not just for helping repair my ship, but for showing me what humans are truly capable of. He managed a smile. Safe travels, Hana. I hope you find your way home without any more unexpected landings. That night, June barely slept. He lay awake thinking of all the things he should have said or asked. By morning, he had resigned himself to the fact that his brief encounter with the universe beyond Earth was ending. What he didn't know was that before leaving his workshop, Hana had uploaded something to his computer, something that would change everything. 3 years had passed since the morning June woke to find Hana gone. He remembered walking to the crash site, finding nothing but undisturbed forest floor where her ship had been. The only proof she'd ever existed was a small metallic component she'd left behind, something she'd called a memory crystal, and the files on his computer. Files that had changed everything. The evening air was crisp as June locked up his laboratory. Not the old workshop behind his father's house, but a gleaming research facility on the outskirts of town. The sign above the entrance read, New Horizon Energy Solutions. Below it, in smaller letters, Clean Energy for a Brighter Future. His phone buzzed with a message from his assistant. The demo for the investors went perfectly. They're doubling their funding. June smiled, slipping the phone back into his pocket. The company had grown faster than he'd ever imagined. What had started as theoretical concepts based on Hana's technology had quickly become working prototypes. His first invention, a solar panel 3 times more efficient than anything on the market, had earned enough to care for his father's medical needs and fund further research. Now, 3 years later, his team of 20 engineers was developing everything from better batteries to pollution-free engines. The scientific community called him a visionary. Technology magazines labeled him a genius who thought outside the box, if they only knew how far outside that box really was. June's car hummed quietly as he drove the familiar road home. He'd bought a new house, larger and all on one level to accommodate his father's wheelchair, but not far from their old place. The workshop was still there, kept exactly as it had been when Hana left. Sometimes he went there just to remember. As he pulled into the driveway, he noticed his father sitting on the porch with their home health aide, Yuna. You're home early, his father called. No working late tonight? Not tonight. June climbed the steps, kissing his father's forehead. How was physical therapy? He did very well, Yuna answered, gathering her things. Walked 10 more steps than yesterday. After Yuna left and his father was settled with dinner in front of the television, June went to his home office. The wall was covered with framed magazine covers and news articles. New Horizons Revolutionary Battery Technology wins Global Innovation Award. Clean energy breakthrough could end fossil fuel dependence. Mysterious engineer transforms energy. Sector with theoretical concepts. He sat at his desk, opening his laptop to review the latest research data. A notification popped up. An astronomy blog he followed had posted breaking news about unusual activity detected near Jupiter. Probably just another satellite malfunction. There had been several similar reports over the past few months, all eventually explained away by authorities. His phone rang. The caller ID showed his research director, Jin. Have you seen the news? Jin asked without preamble. Which news? Turn on any channel. It's everywhere. June quickly opened a news site. The headline made his heart stop. Breaking. Unidentified. Aerial phenomena confirmed by international space agencies. The article described multiple objects of unknown origin moving in formation near Earth's orbit. Unlike previous sightings, these were being tracked simultaneously by space agencies from 5 different countries. Official statements were cautious, but the footage, grainy but unmistakable, showed something that didn't match any known aircraft or natural phenomenon. June's hands shook as he closed the laptop. Could it be? After 3 years? Jin, I need to go. Family emergency, I'll call you tomorrow. He grabbed his keys and headed for the door, telling his father not to wait up. 20 minutes later, he was parking at his old workshop. The place was exactly as he'd left it after his last visit, dusty but untouched, a shrine to those months of impossible collaboration. June climbed the stairs to what had been Hana's temporary home. The memory crystal she'd left sat on the desk where he'd placed it years ago. He'd never figured out how to access its contents, assuming it was some kind of personal message meant only for her people. He picked it up now, turning it over in his fingers. The crystal caught the light from the setting sun, throwing rainbow patterns across the wall. As darkness fell, June sat in the old workshop, waiting. For what, he wasn't sure. News updates continued to flood his phone. The objects were moving into lower orbit. Governments were issuing cautious statements. Social media was exploding with theories. Around midnight, he dozed off in the old armchair. A familiar humming sound jolted him awake. At first, he thought he was dreaming. The sound grew louder, the same distinctive hum he remembered from Hana's ship. Heart pounding, he rushed outside. The night sky was clear, stars brilliantly visible away from city lights. And there, descending slowly toward the clearing where he'd first found Hana, was a ship. Larger than hers had been, but with the same sleek design. Lights pulsed along its hull as it settled gently to the ground, barely disturbing the trees around it. June approached cautiously, hardly daring to breathe. A door slid open in the side of the vessel, releasing a soft blue light. A silhouette appeared in the doorway, a familiar figure. "Hana?" he called, his voice catching. She stepped into the moonlight, and June felt a surge of joy. It was her, the same slightly blue skin, the same ridges along her temples. But she wore different clothing now, more formal, with insignia he didn't recognize. "Hello, June," she said, her voice exactly as he remembered. "You've been busy." He laughed, the sound half choked with emotion. "You could say that. Your memory crystal contained quite a bit more than memories." Hana smiled. "Technical, schematics carefully selected not to destabilize human development, but to accelerate it in sustainable ways. Yes, I know." "You planned this all along?" She stepped closer. "Not initially, but that night, seeing your notes, understanding your intentions, I realized you were right. Earth was ready for more than my people believed." Behind her, several other figures emerged from the ship. They stayed back, observing silently. "Who are they?" June asked nervously. "My delegation. I'm no longer just a scout, June. I'm an ambassador now." June struggled to process this. "Ambassador? To Earth? But your non-interference policy has been amended," she finished. "Your work these past 3 years has drawn considerable attention. Not just from humans, but from us as well. The technologies you've developed based on those schematics, they've advanced your planet's capabilities far faster than anyone predicted." "I just built on what you gave me," June said quietly. "No." Hana shook her head firmly. "You did much more. You adapted, improved, and implemented those concepts in ways even I couldn't have predicted. And you did it responsibly, focusing on clean energy, medical applications, communications, not weapons or power grabs." One of the figures behind her stepped forward, handing her what looked like a tablet. She glanced at it briefly. "Right now, 17 ships like this one are appearing over major cities worldwide. It's time, June." "Time for what?" "First contact." Hana's expression was solemn, but her eyes shone with excitement. "Official, public first contact between Earth and the Confederation." June felt dizzy with the implications. "Why now? Why here?" "Why now? Because you proved Earth was ready. As for why here," she smiled again. "I fought hard to be the one to make contact with you personally. You didn't just fix my ship, June. You helped change my people's perspective on humanity." She held out her hand to him, and he took it without hesitation. Her skin was warm against his, so familiar despite the years apart. "The world is about to change forever," she said softly, "and I wanted you by my side when it happens." Behind them, the delegation was setting up equipment. Screens flickered to life, showing news broadcasts from around the world as other ships made their presence known. Governments were scrambling. People were gathering in streets. Social media was erupting. "Are you ready?" Hana asked. June looked from her to the ship to the screens showing the beginning of a new era for humanity, all because he'd hiked through the woods one stormy evening and found a crashed alien trying to fix her ship. "I've been ready since the day you left," he answered truthfully. Together, they turned toward the waiting delegation. The first step of humanity's journey to the stars would begin right here, in a small clearing in northern Michigan, with a handshake between old friends who had once built something impossible from parts found in a junkyard. And as dawn broke over the horizon, the whole world would learn what June had known for 3 years. They were not alone in the universe, not anymore.